Congratulations on the results. Let me just get started with a question on deliveries, because you, of course, released your first quarter guidance. And given what you've delivered so far, it looks like this month you will be delivering fewer than 5,000 units. It doesn't seem too ambitious given what you've done so far. Why?
Thank you, and pleasure to be on this show again. First quarter, we have guided for 12,500 delivery for the quarter. Obviously, it's a number that we want to be very, very confident about. But also, just to keep note that first quarter is typically the lowest quarter given the seasonality in China, especially the Chinese New Year period. There's no delivery of vehicles to customers because the holiday schedules, and it's a short month as well. So typically, first quarter is much lower than the rest of the quarters. And in our case, we saw the drop in February as expected because of holiday season, and we expect March to pick up. But I think given where we are in the cycle, we want to be prudent with our guidance.
Okay, so give us then your demand outlook in terms of orders, because you also recently launched the G3 and P7 models, right?
Well, we have recently launched the LFP battery version of G3 and P7 models. Those are actually lower cost, and then actually allows us to price our vehicle more competitively. These versions will be delivered to customers in the second quarter, and that we expect will further broaden the customer base for our products. And looking ahead, actually in 2021, we'll be introducing a number of new products. In addition to the LFP powered G3 and P7, we'll have actually mid-cycle facelift of G3 delivered starting end of third quarter, as well as our third brand new model, which will launch at the fourth quarter, which will be incorporating world's first production level LiDAR technology in the vehicle.
Brian, how much of the cautious outlook for deliveries in March going forward as well is to do with the shortage in chips and batteries? Is that something that's potentially going to weigh on the forecast for your company?
Well, I think we are keenly watching the development of the chip as well as battery supply chain. So far, it hasn't impacted us. We also have not seen that impacting our forecast for the first quarter. But particularly on chipset, I think we have visibility for 2 to 3 months. So we're watching the long-range impact of these developments. I think lucky for us is that because the volume that we'll be delivering this year compared to some larger OEMs like Volkswagen and GM and some Chinese OEMs are relatively small. So it's easier for us to source a replacement and also finding capacity.
You also have your second factory under construction with capacity of about 100,000 units. You're expecting at this point that to go into operation in third quarter of about 2022, I believe. Do you think by that point there'll be enough market demand to cover the costs of 2 factories?
Well, I think given the growth as well as the increasing of our portfolio, our Zhaoqing plant will quickly fill its capacity pretty much by the end of this year. So having the second plant up and running next year is a priority for us because we anticipate that capacity will be utilized very quickly.
And you also have just delivered 100 cars in Norway last December. What's been the reaction so far, and what are your plans abroad now?
Yes, we have delivered 2 batches together, about 300 plus G3s to the Norwegian market. So far, the feedback has been very positive. Obviously, this is actually a very small step for us to test the market in Europe. We actually have plans this year to expand our presence in continental Europe, including a number of additional countries that we can build offices and potentially stores. So I think for us, we want to spend the next 12 to 18 months really to build out the infrastructure, allow us to sell our future products there, including our autonomous driving technologies.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about the autonomous driving technology, your outlook for when that will really come into play and how that will affect your revenue outlook as well.
Sure. For us, I think we are targeting the autonomous driving technologies that can be incorporated in our vehicle, in the production vehicles. So for example, we just launched our Xpeng 3.0, which allows a driver can drive on the highway in China using mostly the autonomous driving, and they can actually enjoy that function. And we saw upon launch of that, the what we call NGP, navigation guided pilot, more than 50% of the driving in these NGP permitted roads actually being driven using these autonomous driving technologies. So it's actually very, very exciting for us to see the stickiness that our customers are having with our product. We expect to broaden that technology to include memory parking, for example, in the middle of the year, so the car can park itself in a parking lot upon entering into the parking garage. And also by the end of this year or early next year, we expect to upgrade our Xpeng 3.0 to Xpeng 3.5. That includes the LiDAR technology in our third product to broaden the coverage of NGP to include not just the highway, but also urban style roads as well.
Brian, when do you break even?
Well, I think in the next 2 years, we'll be continue to invest in our technology, build out an infrastructure and services network, as well as our charging facilities. So I think the next 2 years will be an investment phase for us. But I think for us, given the growth volume, I think break-even year will be probably 2020, end of 2023 or early 24.
I know when we talk about Xpeng, we talk about the broader EV markets and how much really advances Tesla is making in the Chinese EV market, right? Especially when it comes to your Xpeng P7 sedan model, that how perhaps is directly competing with Tesla. Do you look at it in that view? How do you see the dynamics play out? Because we talk about Tesla constantly, but there are so many other foreign makers really delving into the Chinese EV market.
Well, you're correct. I mean, the Chinese EV market is actually very, very competitive. You see not just Tesla, is competing here, but you have a number of incumbent OEMs are launching EV products, and most of those actually are models introducing this year. However, I think the type of DNA that allow manufacturer to come up with smart EV products are different. I think a lot of the traditional players are still very much focused on the electrification side of the vehicle, where I think Tesla and I think Xpeng are mostly focused on the smartification of the vehicle, which I think we believe are the long-term differentiations for the products. But going forward, though, I think we are very excited to see the technology are becoming more and more welcomed and adapted by the consumers in China. If you look at, for example, in our smart cockpit inside our vehicles, the voice command, which is a very powerful tool in Chinese driving scenarios, is used on a daily basis by our driver for more than 90% of the driver population. So these are very exciting stats to see compared to traditional driving vehicles.